My mom called me on a Tuesday afternoon. Her voice was cold. Already decided. Nadia, you won't be at Thanksgiving this year. Ethan feels uncomfortable around you. We don't want drama. I was holding my grocery list for the trip home. I set it down on the counter. Fully. I didn't argue. I didn't cry. I just said I understand and hung up. What my mom didn't know, what Ethan didn't know, was that I had already opened his file. Before we continue, please subscribe to the channel and let us know in the comments where you are listening from. My name is Nadia. I am 26 years old. I am a corporate compliance director at a regulatory firm downtown. My job is simple in theory and brutal in practice. I find financial fraud. I build cases. I present evidence. And then I watch people face consequences they thought they had hidden. I'm good at my job. My sister Sarah married Ethan 6 months ago. Small ceremony. Fast engagement. The kind of wedding where you smile and say congratulations and privately wonder if they really know each other. I met Ethan exactly twice. First time, the wedding dinner. The moment Sarah introduced us, something shifted in his face. Just for a second. There and gone. Second time, a family brunch. He asked me careful questions. Where do you work? What exactly do you do? Which companies do you deal with? Thought it was small talk. I was wrong. The call came on a Tuesday. My mom's voice was the kind of calm that isn't really calm. It's the calm of someone who has already had the conversation without you. She said Ethan felt uncomfortable around me. That this was his first Thanksgiving. That they didn't want tension. That maybe next year would feel different. I waited for her to finish. Then I asked one question. Did Sarah call me herself? Silence. Did Dad? More silence. So everyone agreed. Together. Without telling me. My mom kept explaining. Keeping the peace. Giving Ethan time. Each word a small precise confirmation of something I had felt my whole life. In this family I was always the one who could be moved. The adjustable one. The one whose seat was never quite guaranteed. I told her I understood. I hung up. I stood in my kitchen not moving, not crying, just processing the particular hurt that comes not from one person's cruelty but from everyone's silence. That night I made a decision. I wasn't going to fight it. I wasn't going to beg for a seat at their table. Because I already had a seat at a much more important one. The next morning I went to work. My office downtown. Familiar smell of coffee. Familiar sound of keyboards. The one place where I knew exactly where I stood. I sat down. Opened my laptop. Hold up my current active investigation. Case file. Meridian Financial Consulting. Suspected fraudulent reporting. Falsified client records. Approximately $2.3 million in misrepresented assets. The case had been running quietly for 3 months. We were close. I scrolled to the senior partners list. And there was Ethan Clark, senior partner. Meridian Financial Consulting. I sat very still for a moment. Then I went back. The wedding dinner. His face when Sarah said my name and my job in the same sentence. The brunch. His careful questions. Which firm? Which sector? Which companies? He hadn't been making small talk. He had been running a risk assessment. On me. At his own wedding. I leaned back and looked at the ceiling for a long moment. Ethan hadn't banned me from Thanksgiving because I was difficult. He banned me because he already knew what I did. And he was terrified I would figure out what he had done. What he didn't know was that I already had. 2 days later my assistant knocked on my door. There's a man in reception. Says it's urgent. His name is Ethan. I stood up slowly, straightened my jacket, and walked out. When I turned the corner he looked nothing like the composed man I had met at the wedding. He looked like someone who hadn't slept in days. Tie loose. Eyes red. Hands that couldn't find anywhere to rest. The moment he saw me his face went completely white. I watched it happen. The recognition. The calculation. The realization that the thing he had been afraid of had already arrived and was standing directly in front of him. He stood up too fast. Chair scraped back loudly. Every head in reception turned. You work here. His voice cracked. Yes. Why are you here, Ethan? He looked around the office. Company logo on the wall. Security badges. Staff watching quietly. His breathing came faster. You're Nadia Rahman. The compliance director. Yes. One word. Steady. His hands started shaking. Your sister didn't know. He whispered. She didn't know you were the one investigating my company. I let that sit in the air for a moment. Then I said, Ethan, the investigation connected the dots 3 weeks ago. Your company name came up in a federal audit. We have already pulled the records. His face collapsed completely. You're going to report it. I looked at him for a long moment. This man who had convinced my entire family to remove me from their table. Who thought making me disappear from the room would solve his problem. I spoke quietly. That depends entirely on what the records show. But I strongly suggest you contact your attorney today. He nodded once, weakly, and walked out of my office looking like a man who finally understood that running never works. That night Sarah called. Her voice was different, smaller. The voice of someone who had learned something about themselves they couldn't unlearn. Nadia, I didn't know who you were investigating. I know. He told me he felt uncomfortable around you. I believed him. I went along with it. I know that too. Silence. Then her voice broke. I should have called you myself. When Mom said you weren't coming, I should have picked up the phone. Yes, you should have. I wasn't going to make it easier. Not this time. I had spent years smoothing things over, making people comfortable at my own expense. I was done. She asked quietly, "Are you okay?" I thought about it. I'm better than okay. I'm exactly where I'm supposed to be. Another silence. What happens to Ethan now? That's not up to me anymore. The records speak for themselves. She went quiet for a long time. Then she said the one thing I hadn't expected. I'm sorry, Nadia. Not just for Thanksgiving. For all of it. 3 weeks later, Ethan's company was formally charged. $2.3 million fraudulent reporting. License suspended. Sarah filed for separation. My parents called. Both together. Your father and I are sorry. My mom said. We should never have let someone else decide whether you belonged at our table. I listened. I didn't rush to forgive. My comfort was not their responsibility. Their discomfort was not mine to fix. I told them I heard them. That it would take time. That some things couldn't be unsaid. They accepted that. It was the most honest conversation we had ever had. I still think about that Tuesday afternoon. My mom's cold voice. The grocery list I set down on the counter. The moment I said I understand and meant something completely different. I understood Ethan was afraid of me. Fear makes people do things they cannot take back. And I understood something about myself I had forgotten. I was never the problem. I was the solution they hadn't accounted for. If someone has ever removed you from a room to protect themselves, remember this. Rooms change. Tables change. But the truth has a way of finding you exactly where you are supposed to be. It always does.